Hello, my name is Alicia Najera, and I just finished completing my leading video with my focus group. I was very grateful that all of my colleagues had such great input towards our discussion, and I think it went very well. Now that we have met and discussed professional development, our focus group was able to effectively communicate with each other, and they did a great job at staying within the agenda. We covered everything that I had on the agenda was covered, from their favorite professional development to what they can evaluate when what goes well and all the concerns that they had, to the professional development that they wish that we do have in the future. I appreciated the fact that all of the participants were diligent about listening to each other's input and stating their opinions, agreeing, sometimes bringing up better solutions, and I think that they did everything very respectfully. We were able to cover all of the topics on the agenda, and we stayed within time limits. This activity gave me much insight as to what the teachers on my campus consider to be an efficient professional development. I wanted to start the meeting by asking them their best professional development that they had ever had and what made it memorable. The purpose of doing this at the beginning is to compare our current or our recent professional developments here at Henderson to their ideal or their most effective professional development. I was surprised to learn from one of my colleagues that her favorite professional development was one that took the span of 5 days. According to her, to Ms. Bañales, the facilitators were able to really explain and model the way that Kagan strategies should work in great detail. The majority of my focus group agreed that currently professional development at our campus is usually crammed into 1 day, and they told me about their concern about going to professional development 1 day, and the administrators or the district or sometimes the principal expect us as teachers to turn it around and implement it right away without further guidance or professional development follow-up. That is a piece that I think is missing from my campus, and all of the teachers agreed with that point. Someone also brought up that in recent professional development, the problem seems to be the facilitator sometimes. That tends to be a little bit disorganized, or that the professional development itself is not structured in a way that is conducive to learning for the teachers. Let me give a little bit of background on that. My district, the middle school facilitator for English language arts just got promoted. So we ended up with a new facilitator, and I think that all the teachers here in the English language arts department feel that the level of support coming from the new facilitator is lacking, and so I think that's why Ms. Estrada made that comment about sometimes it's not the professional development itself, it's the facilitators that become a little bit of a barrier. What struck me as a surprise is the amount of negligence, I would say, or the feeling of being ignored, so to speak, to the social studies department when it comes to professional development. You can see that because Mr. Saucedo, he said, when I asked him about his favorite professional development, he mentioned PBIS, the Positive Behavior Intervention System. And that itself it's for the students, but it's not aligned academically to a professional development. That's more of a behavior management system. So for him to say that his favorite was PBIS, I felt that shows the lack of support that the social studies department has been getting academically. According to him, to Mr. Saucedo, there really is no professional development offered by the district because it is such a difficult subject to prioritize since it's only tested in 8th grade, not every year like reading and math. Um, I feel like if this is an area of concern for us in the campus and for us in the district, I feel like the district should put more money and invest in the social studies department because our scores are always so low in that area. Now, I don't see what the decision is behind not supporting social studies as much as we can. Um, he also brought up the concern of his regarding next year's AB schedule. And right now we have a traditional schedule in place, but next year it's going to turn into an AB schedule in which he will only have access to his students every other day. He did get a little bit off topic, but I think his concerns were valid. Because our campus is of low socioeconomic demographics, some of our students do not have access to the internet, which will definitely become a barrier if he does decide to start implementing a flipped classroom. The idea behind a flipped classroom is that the teacher records or uploads lessons into a platform like Schoology and then gives the students an assignment, and when the students come in, they refine their student work or they have an opportunity to fine-tune the content taught. I think this would actually work for Mr. Saucedo and maybe the science and the elective courses, but I think that's going to take a lot of planning and a lot of support from the district and from our campus. I think that in the interest of his students, attending a flipped classroom professional development might benefit him greatly. My focus group was also very good at communicating their concerns about our campus, especially with the lack of instructional leadership that our campus is currently experiencing. Currently, my campus principal is also the principal at another middle school nearby, so we're sharing a principal. And we have a total of 3 new assistant principals to the campus, as well as 2 new active learning leaders, which are our instructional coaches, as I mentioned in the video. And I believe that with all of these new leadership in our campus, every one of them, I think, is still trying to learn our campus and see what works and what doesn't work. And I think that the instructional piece is getting lost in translation somewhere. And for that matter, teachers are not getting the professional development that they need as well. I'm hoping that by next year, once all the administrators and all the coaches learn a little bit more about our campus, that we can hit the ground running and come up with a plan to help us get our students there where they need to be. Considering how well the meeting went, the only thing that I would change is to invite 2 more people to the meeting. One would be a science department representative. I would love to interview a science department teacher, and also a special education teacher. A concern was brought up by my focus group as to the lack of professional development geared towards special education or our inclusion teachers, and I wholeheartedly agree. Hardly ever do they mention things for trainings for special ed teachers other than the ones held on campus at the beginning of the school year and 1 day per semester. After hearing Mr. Saucedo's input on social studies representative, I am curious to learn if the science department is kind of like deserted like the social studies department is when it comes to professional development, and I would like to know, how does it work for science? How is it that they plan? How is it that they overcome this barrier of lack of instructional leadership here at my campus? I think that this experience will transform my practices as an administrator by making me more aware of the needs of my campus, and as such, I need to carefully plan and budget real and effective professional development that will make an impact on my campus. I also know the importance of protecting teachers' instructional time. When it comes to meaningless professional development, such as data talks, for example, I will try and advocate to my superiors into letting my teachers conduct data talks during their PLC period instead of taking an entire day off away from students to analyze data. I agree with Mr. Gallegos when he said that data talks are not professional development. Some of these teachers have been doing this for a long time, And I do feel like analyzing data, yes, it's helpful, but I don't think it should be a whole day worth of professional development. I think if we meet twice a week or 2 PLCs during the week, I think we could keep our teachers in the classroom instead and still get all the data talks done. I will also ensure that the PLC time be protected from outside barriers such as ARDs, so that teachers have an opportunity to effectively collaborate and learn from each other. I think that that's a very important piece that administrators often forget or overlook, and it has a huge impact on our student achievement, academic achievement. Overall, I really appreciated the fact that my focus group of teachers was so willing to provide feedback and openly discuss their views on professional development. I think that they brought up some great points regarding the way professional development is both effective and ineffective. And according to the survey that the 4 of them filled out for me after the meeting, they thought the same thing. They thought that, if given the time, we would have kept going and it would have turned into a 2-hour meeting, because they really got into it, and I appreciate that. Ms. Estrada, who happens to be one of our newer teachers, she's been teaching for, I believe, 3 years. She mentioned that she actually learned quite a bit about the looping of students and about what works, what professional development the other teachers have had. And all 4 of them scored our meeting as very insightful. I think that if we did have had more time, our conversation would have actually kept going, since everyone got encased in the conversation. I'm looking forward to meeting with my mentor so we can talk about my professional development. Thank you.